Well, hey TRS, welcome back to week 5 of our summer devotional, From Wonder to Rejection. I'm Landon, and this week we're taking a look at what I consider to be one of the most important and foundational beliefs of our faith. Over the past few weeks, we've been examining the power and authority that Scripture tells us that Jesus has. We have seen throughout his life and ministry, Jesus demonstrating amazing and miraculous feats that honestly no normal person could ever accomplish. I know I couldn't. Now obviously, Christianity and Jesus are pretty divisive in our culture these days. But see, what I find very interesting is the fact that nearly 100% of historians and scholars, they all agree that Jesus was a real person who actually exists, who lived around 2,000 years ago. The only people who disagree with this simple fact are typically holding on to religious bias or a hatred of Christianity. And honestly, it's causing them to ignore nearly irrefutable evidence, even evidence that exists outside of the Bible, that Jesus did in fact exist. He walked the earth just like you and I did. So the fact is true, but what is more often disagreed upon is who Jesus was. See, this is the basis of our talk today and your devotions this week. It's called Jesus Overall, where we will face the question of whether Jesus is Lord of all or is he a liar. You may have heard in your life that people who don't call themselves Christians, they often believe that Jesus was simply a good man, or he was a prophet who spoke for God, that he did a lot of good things. He spoke some truth about the world, but that's about it. These people deny that Jesus was ever resurrected from the dead, and they often deny many of the biblical miracles that Jesus performed during his life. They believe he was just an ordinary man who just happened to do a few good things, and that happened to get him written about. This is a large portion of what your generation believes about Jesus, but the problem is, it's not really consistent with who Jesus himself believed and claimed himself to be, as you'll see in Scripture today. As Christians, we believe that Jesus was not just a man. Yes, we believe he was human, in flesh, dwelling among us. But for us, what we will be reading about this week is that Jesus was far more than just a man. Jesus is God with us. He is the Son of God, fully man. This is what sets our beliefs apart from any other major world religion that's practiced today. See, Muslims, their main prophet, Muhammad, he simply claimed to be a man who spoke for God. Gandhi was just a man who advocated for the poor and needy. Buddha, just a man who reached enlightenment. But none of these other faiths have a person who lived on earth and also claimed to be God in the flesh. As you'll see this week as you read through these passages, Jesus did in fact claim that. See, there's a few scholars today who try to say that Jesus never actually out loud claimed to be God. But what you're going to see in the passages you'll explore this week is that he did just that. He did claim to be God on numerous occasions. And see, more than that, his actions aligned greatly with the fact that he, might actually be who he says he is. So to set up the story for this week, for this reading, it's important to note that even the people who lived with Jesus had very similar questions to people today on whether or not Jesus was the Son of God or not. And so in John 10, we see Jesus setting the record straight once and for all. So Jesus has been active in his ministry for some time now. He's been performing miracles. He's been in the temple quoting prophecies from Scripture and claiming to be the fulfillment of these Scriptures. But in John 10, we see Jesus attending this party with a bunch of other Jewish people and leaders of the faith who just straight up ask him. They say, look, Jesus, are you God or not? They're basically like, all right, stop leading us on, Jesus. I need you to tell us straight. Are you the Son of God or not? And Jesus is like, guys, what do you think I've been doing this whole time? I've told you over and over, I am claiming to be God. But see, he defended his statement by referencing the miracles he has been doing, and he puts the nail in the coffin by ending the debate by saying, I and the Father are one, right there. So when we look at this passage, and as you study this week for yourself and you read these passages, I think we're faced with a very important question. And this is why I believe this is one of the most important topics in our faith right now. That either Jesus is crazy, and he's making a wild claim to be God that has nothing to back him up, that he's a liar who believed something untrue about himself, or that he is telling the truth, that he is God in the flesh, that he is the Messiah, and that he is the only way to get to God. Both cannot be true. And if Jesus is telling the truth, then that simple fact alone proves that our faith is true and every other religion that rejects Jesus, untrue and unable to get you to the one true God. See, the evidence, guys, is overwhelming. Jesus' claims are true. They are defended through evidence and through history. There is no reason you should not believe Jesus' claims to be true. Jesus is before all things, above all things, over all things, the only way to the Father, because He and the Father are one. For this week, guys, spend time reading through this incredible story that sets a precedence for the foundation of your faith. And we'd ask that you engage with the questions so that you can better defend Jesus over all, God in flesh. Have a great week.